All right, today we are going on a journey, a really deep one. We're going to explore a system for understanding reality that's 2,500 years old, but we're going to use the language of modern physics as an analogy to help us unlock it. This is all about the hidden mechanics of consciousness. And to really appreciate the answer someone found, we first got to understand the world where the question was first asked. So let's set the scene. Picture this. It's the 500s BCE. I mean, all around the globe, brilliant minds are literally shaping the future. You've got Pythagoras in Greece, totally wrapped up in the beautiful logic of triangles. Over in Persia, Cyrus the Great is out there building a massive empire. And in China, Confucius is laying down a philosophy that will last for thousands of years. But in India, a young prince was asking a totally different kind of question. You see, while everyone else was busy trying to conquer the external world, land, numbers, social order, this prince, Siddhartha, turned his gaze inward. He wasn't trying to figure out how to build a better kingdom or solve a math problem. Nope. He was asking the question, the one that sits at the very heart of being human. How do you stop suffering for good? And look, this wasn't just some casual philosophical thought. I mean, this guy gave up everything. His palace, his family, every single comfort you can imagine, all to find the answer. He spent years in this intense, deep introspective investigation, pushing his body and his mind to their absolute limits, all to understand the very fabric of how we exist. And then he found it. He had this massive breakthrough. He later described it using this incredible metaphor. He said he finally found the carpenter who builds the house of our suffering. And once he saw that builder, he could take the whole thing apart, piece by piece, so that house could never be built again. So the big question is, what did he see? To get what he discovered, we first have to wrap our heads around the framework he used. He saw reality as having three different layers, each one getting deeper and more fundamental than the one before it. So the first layer is called prajñapti, or what we'd call conventional truth. This is just reality as you and I see it every day. So imagine you're looking at a mountain way off in the distance. What do you see? You see one thing, a green mountain. It's a useful concept, a label, right? But it's not the whole story. Because what happens when you look closer? Let's say you pull out a spyglass and zoom in. All of a sudden, that single green mountain, it just dissolves. You realize it's not one thing at all. It's a massive collection of individual trees. This is the second layer, paramartha, or ultimate truth. This is where those conventional objects break down into what they're actually made of. But we can go deeper. I mean, what allows those trees, those ultimate parts, to even be there in the first place? Well, now you're not looking at the trees anymore. You're investigating the sun, the soil, the water. These aren't the things themselves, they're the underlying conditions, the laws of nature that allow the things to exist. This is the third deepest layer, papachaya, the world of causes and conditions. And this third layer, this is what the Buddha mapped out. He didn't just see the ultimate particles of existence, he saw the actual operating system running the whole show. He described it all as 24 distinct, interconnected causal laws or conditions called the Suvisi Pachaya. And this, right here, is where our modern analogies are going to come in super handy. Okay, but before we go any further, I have to put up a huge flashing sign here, a critical disclaimer. What we're doing is using concepts from modern physics as analogies. That's it. It's a tool to help us get our minds around these really abstract, ancient ideas. We are not, and I repeat, not saying the Buddha discovered quantum mechanics. These are two totally different ways of knowing. We're just borrowing a modern language to help explain an ancient one, okay? Good. Let's dive into a few of these conditions. Let's actually start with the second condition, Aramana Pachaya, because it sets up the first one perfectly. Think about Einstein's theory of general relativity. You have a massive object, like our sun, and it literally bends and warps the fabric of space-time around it. That curve is what we experience as gravity. Well, in a really similar way, this condition says that any object of your awareness, a sight, a sound, even just a thought, creates a kind of curve or a dent in the space of your mind, causing your consciousness to naturally fall or flow towards it. So that begs the question, right? If an object creates a pull on the mind, what determines how strong that pull is? Well, in physics, it's pretty simple, mass. The more massive the object, the more it warps space-time, the stronger its gravity. So what's the mental version of mass? And that brings us to the very first condition, hetu pacheya. The Hetu condition basically says that the mass, or the weight of any mental event, is determined by 6 root factors. On one side, you have the unwholesome roots: greed, aversion, and delusion. Think of these as super dense, heavy things that create a powerful, often problematic gravitational pull on the mind. On the other side are their opposites, the wholesome roots: non-greed, non-aversion, and non-delusion. These create a totally different kind of influence, one that's light, free. The intensity of these roots is what gives a mental moment its power. Next up, we have the dominance condition, and the physics analogy here is symmetry breaking. It's so cool. Imagine you balance a pen perfectly on its pointy tip. For a second, it's in a state of perfect symmetry. It could fall in any direction, right? But then the tiniest puff of air comes along, the symmetry is broken, and it falls in one specific direction. This condition is all about the factors that push our mind out of that state of balance and into a single dominant flow, whether it's a powerful thing we see or a really strong intention we have. All right, now we get to one of the most mind-bending parts of this whole system. We've seen some of the forces that shape our consciousness, but what about the nature of the flow itself? Does it move like frames in a movie with tiny little black gaps between each one? Or is it something else? To get this, first, let me ask you something. When you think of a totally empty space, like a perfect vacuum, what do you picture? For most of history, we just thought of it as nothing, absolute nothingness, a true gap in the universe. But then quantum mechanics came along and just completely flipped that idea on its head. It turns out a vacuum isn't empty at all. It's this seething, fizzing foam of virtual particles that are constantly popping into and out of existence faster than we can even imagine. And here's the key takeaway. At the most fundamental level of reality, there are no gaps. The fabric of the universe is continuous. And that is the perfect analogy for the Antanarapakachaya, the continuity condition. What the Buddha observed is that consciousness flows in exactly that same way. It's an unbroken, continuous stream. The very instant one mind moment ceases to be, the next one is already there, taking its place, with absolutely zero gap in between, not even for a fraction of a nanosecond. It's seamless. And a very closely related condition, Samanantara-Pachaya, adds one more crucial piece to the puzzle: direction. This unbroken flow isn't just random static. It has a forward momentum. It's kind of like how the law of entropy gives time its arrow, making sure it always moves forward. This condition ensures that each moment directly makes way for the next one, creating a clear causal chain from past to future. And this all brings us to one last really profound thought. If every single moment of your experience, every thought, every sight, every feeling, is born directly from the moment right before it in a seamless, unbroken, causally connected chain, then where in that continuous flow can you actually draw a line and say, this is me? Where does a separate, solid, independent you truly begin or end?